and temps near 70. We will have slight fog and partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 58. And slightly foggy in the morning, but otherwise some clouds tomorrow and a high 74. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Celebrating 60 years in business? That boot store must be doing something right. How about one of the largest Western collections in the area? Carhartt work clothes, affordable prices, and absolutely the best personal service you'll find anywhere. These are just a few reasons that boot store is celebrating 60 years in business. Stop in today. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5. Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30. Next to Bill Burr Kia 15th Street in Panama City. That boot store, where God is good all the time.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Having a tough time with hay fever? Here's some tips that might help. Hi, this is Doug Chamberlain with the Samaritan Ministries Family Health Checkup. Green trees, grass, and flowers in bloom are beautiful, but it spells misery for those with allergies. 1 in 4 Americans are affected by allergies, and that number is on the rise. Hay fever symptoms are especially worse on warm, windy days when the pollen is flying freely. For at least a little bit of relief without medicine, keep your window closed and use air conditioning. Install a HEPA filter for forced air furnaces. Avoid wooded areas and gardens as much as possible, and check the forecast to watch for those dry, windy days. For more help, try an over-the-counter antihistamine, or you might want to see an allergist who can monitor and treat your allergies more specifically. For more about your family's health, visit FamilyHealthCheckup.org.
It seems like I rescue countless people every summer. 4 summers ago, there was a person that was caught in a rip current and no one else saw it. She was pretty close to going under. She was definitely bobbing under. And I took my friend's board and I ran out and got to her just in the nick of time. And then the lifeguards came and got her after that. The power of the ocean deserves everyone's respect. Even on tranquil days, hard to see powerful rip currents are present up and down our coast. Every year, unsuspecting swimmers find themselves in the grip of a rip. Many lose their lives. Such tragic events could easily be prevented with a few local tips. Know before you go and always check beach forecasts before you head out. Always swim near a lifeguard. And if you find yourself caught in a rip current, don't panic. Float, wave, and shout until help can arrive. And if you're a good swimmer, don't fight the rip current. Swim parallel to the beach to break free of the current's hold. Live like a local, love the beach, respect the ocean.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Haven, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 right here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're in the doghouse. I'm David Hayes, along with AG, also known as Adam Golf, and Caveman Rick. Hopefully you guys are having a great Wednesday afternoon. Beautiful outside, man. Just walked outside for a few minutes. Walked over there to the Yellow store to get a couple of packs of gum. Great stuff, man. Last night I was in the Blue store getting some groceries, and it's like they don't even, self-checkout don't even want to work these days. Like, not that...
Well, and the
like, they got them closed is what I'm saying. Like, what is the point of that?
And the crazy part is Walmart is what... the Blue store as well as the Red store are talking about doing... charging a tax for you to use the self-checkout.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They should be giving you a discount because we're doing the work of an employee. They should be checking us out.
Yeah, so now they're talking about adding a tax to use the self-checkout. And then, like, okay, so I'm already bagging up and scanning my own groceries
with way less room too, because
and then I have my receipt checked at the door, and it's like, well, you didn't train me to work here.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, what? Come on now.
And then when you have like an alcoholic beverage or something, then you have to wait for some clown to come over to like, you know, make sure you're okay. So, you know, go out, and while you're standing there waiting, not doing nothing, you know, because they have one person servicing like 15 or 20 of those self-checkouts.
Yeah, and now they're going to potentially tax you for using it.
That's I had not heard that yet, and that's wild. I know this isn't sports, and there's no intentions of starting out this way, but go ahead, K-Ferry.
People just need to like boycott, man. Just don't go, you know, for like a few days, like a week, and like, you know, so they don't make no money, and then maybe it'll change it. Boycotting
actually, I think, would help something like that. The problem is getting people in buying into boycotting something like that, because I mean, and you know what? Here in Panama City, you actually have a couple of places where you could go to get your groceries that you wouldn't have to go. Yeah, there you go, or you can go to the outlet where they have groceries. Yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities there. And here's the other thing I was thinking about as I was on my way to the store last night was it's wild to me that it's basically majority self-checkout. Like, right, you'll have like 3 or 4 aisles open, if that. And so why do they even close? Yeah. What's the point of closing at 11 p.m. when basically you could have the eye in the sky take care of it?
My wife and I had that same exact conversation today. We actually left Barbaritos where we had lunch.
There you go. You can say that one on the air.
Yeah, we left Barbaritos, which was phenomenal, by the way. We told them we heard it right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, and they were like, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I don't get that. And if they start taxing at that point, I'll be like, okay, so if I go to a register, then do I not get taxed for using the self-checkout?
Right.
Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. Make it make sense. 850-215-6290 is the number to call, but you can also text that number as well. No guest lined up today. Normally on Wednesdays we have Old School with us, but he's got something going on, so we're going to get him tomorrow at 5:30, I believe, our time. I got to double check on that because you know how it is in conversations, how that time, I guess you would say time change, but time zone can get a little confusing there depending on the direction of the conversation. But we'll get into some Major League Baseball today. O'Neal Cruz, who missed all of last year, essentially, is on fire in the spring. I know that doesn't mean anything necessarily for how it'll pan out for him in the regular season, but to have 5 home runs at this point in the season, we'll talk a little bit more about that. And maybe are those Pirates going to do something in the National League Central this year? I mean, you would like to think it's a winnable division, but honestly, the Cubs got the managerial change. The Reds, they were a very talented roster last year, and then the Cardinals.
Maybe they could be the Diamondbacks of this season.
There you go. All you need is a little bit of luck down the stretch. Well, a lot of bit of luck to some extent in the game of baseball.
Luck. You gotta have things go your way. And
it's just like the bounces of the ball. I like the Diamondbacks don't get in. One of the biggest pieces of luck you can look to is, and I think you said this last week. I know Sam said it whenever I was on a podcast with him.
You just mentioned it yesterday, the day before.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Seiya Suzuki catches that fly ball, then the Diamondbacks don't even make the postseason, and we're not even talking about who are the Diamondbacks of 2024. So it's a lot of fun to have those conversations, and with baseball you get a long time to have those conversations as well.
Philadelphia Flyers have a story like that back in 2010. Make the playoffs. We're the last team in. We win. We're playing against the Rangers the last day of the season. The game goes to overtime. We go to a shootout, which we just never have, traditionally done well. We win the shootout.
That's why you hate shootouts.
Well, that's one of the reasons. I just like the old school way, too. But I think it was Simon Gagne, that made the game-winning goal. Anyways, in that game, and that propelled us into the playoffs, and that's the year we went and we lost to the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I know how it is.
We could have not made that goal and not even made the playoffs that year.
I know how it is to lose to the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, that's for sure. But then we'll dive into. We're only going to be going until 5:30 today, and then at that point 5:28 technically. So make sure that we're out of here by 5:28. Caveman Rick at 5:30. We're going to get you to the second round coverage of the ACC tournament. Florida State played today. I know that they won. I want to say it was like 86-76.
It was a really close game the entire game. So. But yeah, they were able to pull it out. And now they have North Carolina tomorrow.
Well, it was a fun ride for them in the tournament, but you never know. Upsets happen. What did we just talk about with the old Diamondbacks? So maybe the ball could bounce in a favorable way for Florida State. That would be great for them. I'm looking for the official score. 86-76. Yeah, it took down Virginia Tech. Not a great season for Florida State basketball this year by any stretch of the imagination, but you win the ACC tournament, you've got yourself an automatic bid into the NCAA tournament, which you can go to ESPNPC.com. You can click on the Bracket Buster Challenge. I haven't even looked at what the website's, what it looks like, but just click on Bracket Buster. I've seen the website. I'm saying I haven't seen what this particular link looks like, but you click that, it'll take you to our group. You can get into the group, and then Selection Sunday will be ending about 8 o'clock. So it'll be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 5 o'clock start time, and it'll end at 8 o'clock. And then at that point, the brackets will be set, and you can make your picks and possibly win some great prizes here from ESPN Northwest Florida. What team are you excited about this year for the tournament? Since, and I know I'm throwing you on the spot because I'm doing this on purpose, but Louisville has no opportunity of getting there.
No, absolutely not. But we fired our coach today, so
there you go.
Hooray.
Don't talk too much about that because I'm going to give you full
No, you're good.
for that.
You're good. Honestly, man, can Hurley get UConn back in there? I'd like to see a smaller school get an opportunity to maybe make another run, get a little Cinderella story going, because you're seeing that more and more, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the money is more spread out across college athletics, the transfer portal is playing a big role. So, while it's a negative in some light in terms of how I perceive it, there is some positives to it because you're seeing a lot of talent throughout Division I as opposed to only seeing about 20 teams and maybe even 8 teams most years that can win it all. Now it's a little bit more spread out. So it makes for more madness, but it also makes the favorites that much more susceptible.
Yeah, I mean, UConn and Houston are looking like two teams that could make those runs. But again, those smaller teams, that's what everyone Well, that's not what everyone watches for, but we watch for that for sure.
That's what I want to see. I want the Big East to come back, man. From like when I was a kid, Big East basketball used to rule, you know what I'm saying? And now with all the alignment changing and things just going the way they are, it's not the same as it was anymore, unfortunately. And I want to see some of those smaller, lesser known like Big East schools do well.
The Big East for me, and for me, it's not childhood. It's more in the last 3 years between Creighton, Nova, Marquette, and UConn. Even though that not all of those teams are making deep runs, I don't know if it's just because of doing this particular position or like being involved in sports radio. But the Big East, it always seems to bring some good basketball, and I've noticed it.
Halls come back, like St. John's, man, like
Xavier,
all those schools that typically that back in the day used to make runs and stuff because I guess Northeast bias. A lot of kids were going to school there, and had a lot of people gravitating that direction.
But you're talking. I mean, obviously, when Louisville joined the Big East in 2015, there was not 2015, 2006.
Yeah, because they probably was in the ACC 2015, huh?
Yeah. So I got that confused because there was that gap year from the Big East to the ACC where they're in the AAC. But when Louisville joined the Big East in 2006, it had already started to change, right? I mean, you had Miami and Virginia Tech leaving and going to the ACC. And then, of course, Syracuse followed suit to the ACC, Pittsburgh. So the Big East has... It's been sucked out as far as the originals, right? Like the Georgetowns. I mean, we can all remember watching Madison Square Garden, right? We can all remember watching Madison Square Garden.
JT, man, John Thompson.
Right. You have Georgetown, Villanova. You had Syracuse. You had Pittsburgh in there. You
Temple. Temple.
No, not Temple. They're A-10.
Right. A-10, my bad.
But you had wars, man. You had battles in there that you just don't get anymore, but the Big East is still very, very slept on because of what they've added with the Creightons and with the Xaviers of the world. And that's why the Big East Conference as a whole gets slept on because it's not a Power Five because they don't do anything else pretty much but basketball as far as the big sports go. So
a lot of rivalries, too.
There's some huge rivalries in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these teams fair in the tournament.
Yeah.
When their other schedules maybe don't factor in quite as much, but you're still going to have your Dukes, your North Carolinas, and schools like that in there. But I'm anxious to see if Hurley can get it done at UConn again.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. We will be looking forward to that. The brackets are dropping this Sunday, Selection Sunday, 5 p.m. right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. All right, to our local scores from last night in high school baseball. Arnold beat Rickards 12-2. It only took them 5 innings. Mariana shuts out Rutherford 10-0. Bay beats Bellevue 2-1. South Walton over Donaldson Christian. The score there was 7-2. Osceola Christian beats Weewa by 10, 17-7. North Bay Haven also by 10 over Freeport, 13-3. Franklin takes down Port St. Joe. The score there was 5-4. Sneeds ekes out a win over Chipley. The score 9-8. And then Gulf Breeze by 6 over Niceville, 7-1. Mosley over Chipley, 10-5. Arnold keeping it rolling in softball, still undefeated. They beat Bozeman 12-1. Bluntstown over Gadsden County, 18-0. Emmanuel Christian, and we used to play them quite a bit whenever I went to Covenant. They and Panama Christian and Eagles Nest Christian. The three I went to the trilogy of Christian schools. I'm sure there's more here in Panama City, but Emmanuel Christian beats Malone 29-13. South Walton over Donaldson Christian 9-0. Sneeds over Cottondale 13-7. Ponce de Leon beats Vernon by 1, 6-5. Port St. Joe gets a win over Alta. The score there 6-3. North Bay Haven shutting out Clinton 11-0. Niceville falls to Milton 6-5. Wakulla beats Liberty by 2 runs, 8-6, and then Holmes County over Walton, 11-0. Tonight in Niceville, Northwest Florida State's going to be hosting the Gulf Coast Commodores. That game starts at 5 p.m. And then right here at Joe Tom King Field, the Lady Commodores, who are number 9 in the nation, they're going to be hosting Rock Valley for a doubleheader. You've got 2 opportunities to go check them out. It's only $5 at the gate, y'all, and it is great entertainment. 4 p.m. for the first game, so they just got underway, and then 6 p.m. for the second game.
Is that right? Number 1 Commodores?
Yeah, they
number 1 in the nation?
When the number 1 in the NJCAA,
gotcha.
But Northwest Florida State beat them, I believe, on Monday, pretty convincingly, like 9-2. So. They are number 1 right now. They are number 1.
Polls just haven't changed.
Yeah, the polls haven't changed. And I don't know if that's going to change anything. I'm not sure what Northwest Florida State's record is, but they do have the win, and they are number 17. But yeah, Gulf Coast, and not only is Gulf Coast record good, they've got 2 losses on the season, but they are outscoring their opponents tremendously. I mean, it was like a 50 run differential, yeah, for the Commodores. So great stuff. Both the ladies and the men playing some great softball. And then, we're getting close to the Lady Commodores in basketball, getting ready to start their tournament over there at Northwest Florida State. Walton is going to be hosting Donaldson Christian tonight. That game started at 3:30. Sneeds is hosting Graceville tonight. This is in baseball. 5 p.m. for the first pitch there. Mariana is 6-1. Liberty County is 5-2. Mariana hosting Liberty County tonight at 6 p.m. Chipley is 4-3. They'll be hosting Newberry, who's 6-1. That game starts tonight at 6 p.m. And another undefeated baseball team here, Bozeman, is 8-0. FSU High School is 3-5-1. That game starts at 7 p.m. tonight. And then in softball, you've got Liberty County and Mariana, both with identical records of 7-2. They start at 4:30. Liberty County is hosting. Sneeds is 5-2. Port St. Joe 3-5. Sneeds host the Tiger Sharks tonight at 5 p.m. And then North Bay Haven is on the road. They are 8-2 in softball. That game starts at 6 p.m. and it is at Science Hill. So hopefully they learn a little bit while they're playing some softball. Arnold Jr. pitching ace Bree Clark. She's got, I don't even know if I updated this yet. I did update this. So she's up to 570 strikeouts now, which is only 25 strikeouts away from tying the Bay County record. She looks like she could be breaking that mark by the beginning of April. She is trailing North Bay Haven alum Katie Walters, who had 595 strikeouts. Clark leads the Class 4A, and she's fourth out of all Florida high school pitchers in strikeouts. She is 7-0 on the season, ERA of 0.41, and she's only allowed 16 hits to go along with 11 walks, facing 188 batters, and she'll be Arna will be hosting South Walton tomorrow at 6 p.m.
That's impressive.
I mean, yeah, and she's averaging, I think, somewhere around like 11 strikeouts a game, so I don't even know if she's going to make it to April before she breaks that record. That's about 3 or 4 games away. Very, very impressive.
Right. Well, and the thing is women's softball players, the pitchers, they don't go every 5 days.
Yeah.
Most of them go back to back, every other night. Just the wear and tear on the arm isn't exactly the same. It's they still get tired, they still get worn down, but the good ones have a way of figuring it out to where they're out there for the majority of the starts for their team. So,
and that's kind of not the health factor of it, but you are starting to see in the collegiate world more staffs involved with their pitching staff. So interesting, but yeah, Bree Clark is, and she's just a junior, so there's really no way she's not breaking
what's
this record.
The state record for strikeouts? Do we know this offhand? Maybe we'll find it in the break.
Yeah, that'll probably be a good idea. A story I came across today on Twitter, UFC legend Mark Coleman. I mean, he was fighting with UFC from the beginning. He was hospitalized last night after saving his parents from a house fire in Fremont, Ohio. That was announced on Twitter by his family. He the former fighter carried both of his father and mother out of the house. Then he went back into the house to save the family dog. The dog's name was Hammer. Unfortunately, the dog did not make it, but both of his parents did. And, very sad about the dog, but I'm sure, he is glad that he got his parents out of there.
100%. Yeah. I mean, to think about the courage that it takes to go back in.
Talk about a firefighter.
Right. Absolutely. 100%.
Dude, man, just absolutely amazing. His nickname in the UFC was the Godfather of Ground and Pound, and he was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame in 2008. And then I got a text from one of my softball buddies, Brian Bramley. He's a boat captain around here, always doing great things at the Billfish tournaments over there at Bay Point and Destin. He sent me a message over asking if I thought that Johnny Manziel was kind of kicking himself seeing some of the contracts, especially Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, he could care less about football. He even said it in his,
yeah.
I mean, the documentary that's on, Netflix or whatever. I don't know if you've watched it or not. But
I have.
He was so out on football, man. For him, it was just celebrity status and money and nose beers. And like that's all he cared about at that point. Now I'm sure it's probably
he's still playing
different.
football,
right? But I'm
fan-controlled football,
right? It's a little bit different now, right? But he could probably honestly care less. Now, I'm not him, but do you think maybe part of him sits back and looks and goes, "Man, what could have been?" But I mean, what's he really done? He's got a Heisman Trophy. He's nationally known. He hasn't played football on a professional level in a decade?
Yeah.
And we're still talking about him on sports radio.
Which is pretty impressive.
There you go.
Pretty impressive. What's your thoughts? You think he cares at all, Caveman Rick?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think if he did, you'd probably hear more out of him. I mean, with the social media world that we have, if he does, he'd probably say it, like I said, on something like that, and somebody'd hear it. So,
Will Levis just got another weapon.
Mike Williams?
Calvin Ridley, 4 years, $92 million.
Oh, cool. So how much did they pay?
4 years, $92 million.
What?
why?
I just don't get giving what did Calvin Ridley? Hey, listen, I'm an Alabama fan. Like, what did Calvin Ridley do last year at Jacksonville that said, hey, you know what? We're fine with losing one of the best running backs that's ever graced a football field. In fact, we'll overpay for someone who did get 1,000 yards last year. Tony Pollard did get 1,000 yards last year, but we'll overpay for him because he really needs to be kind of that RB1A and RB1B with Tajay Spears. Really, how do you pay the same amount for Tony Pollard that you would have paid for Derrick Henry? And now you want... I'm sorry, but Ran Carthon...
$50 million guaranteed. for Calvin Ridley, who by all stretch of the imagination is a 1B at best. He's probably a 2A, right? And
that was what the better quarterback in Jacksonville.
I agree 100% with that, right? I mean,
and we just got Mason Rudolph too.
You got Mason Rudolph?
What the?
Careful.
What? No, I was going to say what the heck, but I just can't even finish the sentence, dude.
But the thing is about Ridley is that potential is still there, right? I mean, we saw the flashes in Jacksonville. The problem was there was no consistency. And I don't know if that was the system. I don't know if that was him. But, you know, in Tennessee, he's going to arguably be the number one receiver, yes?
Yeah, I mean, right there with DeAndre Hopkins, but you got to think the speed of Calvin Ridley will put, I mean, you know, and youth is on his side there. But still, he's another guy that I would have maybe done a 2-year deal for, like, we'll offer you somewhere in that $13 to $15 million.
With incentives.
Yeah. With incentives. When if you're not coming off of a good season, and obviously I'm not a general manager, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm really just overreacting as a fan, but I think that I have some basis here with how much they're paying him.
Let's look at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Right? From a different perspective. Not fanboying here.
Yeah.
But you've drafted Will Levis, who was the second quarterback you took in as many years. Mm-hmm. Right? You took him in the second round, so you don't have that 5th-year option for him. So you have essentially 3 more years to figure out whether or not he's your guy.
Right.
So if by going and getting a running back that's still relatively young with Tony Pollard, and now you go and get a wide receiver, you've got DeAndre Hopkins, you go and get Mason Rudolph, who, again, isn't phenomenal, but can he be a good relief valve for a young quarterback?
Fair enough.
Potentially.
Fair enough.
I see them making moves to give Levis the opportunity to either be the hero or poop in his big boy pants.
But where do you give a quarterback the actual opportunity to do that?
Again,
the offensive line. The offensive line is where you actually give your quarterback, unless you're Joe Burrow, and still look at, I mean, outside of that one season, the injuries, which you can't blame the injuries last year necessarily for Joe Burrow on the offensive line. But, and what's one of the things that the Bengals started working on? The offensive line. Mm-hmm. That's my issue now. They did draft Skoronski. They have made a signing for the offensive line this year. I can't even remember the guy's name.
Though.
Yeah. And that's 2 years in a row that we've lost our center. Why they never re-signed Ben Jones, I'll never understand, especially how good he was with pushing the line forward for Derrick Henry. I get that. I respect that perspective and trying to put that spin on it. However, it's the $50 million guaranteed. It's the 4 year, like what other wide receivers out there?
But again, after 2 years,
yeah,
you can cut Calvin Ridley. DeAndre Hopkins is gone.
Yeah.
So now you've basically reset. We just gained $30 million in cap space. I don't think it's necessarily a negative move. Are there better options out there right now in the wide receiver?
I love the fact that it's Calvin Ridley.
I don't think there are. But my thing is you're not hindering yourself long term with this deal. It's $50 million and you're gone, right? If it's 2 years, after 2 years, he's guaranteed 50. That's $25 million a year. That's not a lot of money today in NFL standards. So at the end of the day, if Levis isn't the answer and Hopkins isn't going to be there in 2 years because he's older than Father Time right now, and Ridley's gone after 2 years, Pollard's gone after 2 years, you can start back over.
Deontay Johnson just got traded.
Yeah,
and
to
it wasn't
the Panthers.
Much, so I mean, like, you could have got somebody like that, or you could have just drafted. To me, that's just like, just overpaying, and I don't know.
That's where I'm at on it, is I like Calvin Ridley as the addition. I'm 100% fine with that. It's the amount that we're paying and where that money could have been used for something that I think would help a little bit more.
The Eagles, okay, they wanted Saquon. They know what they wanted. They went out and got it, right? Like day one, like, like in the first day. And this is like a few days later and you waited. Like, I could see if like you targeted this guy, you coveted this guy, so you went out, you kind of overpaid him, and you kind of jumped the gun maybe just a little bit because that was the guy that you targeted and you felt like was going to make the difference, right? Then I can maybe kind of buy it a little bit because that's what you guys believe. I mean, hell, that's the reason why they're getting paid and we're not, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, now you wait till like the third day of free agency. Now you're doing something like this. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. Like, if you do something now, why the hell did you wait so long?
Trying to line up there, cross the T's and dot the I's, man. I mean, everything takes time. I mean,
I think like hesitation's like, it's like paralysis by analysis or something.
I don't know if it's necessarily hesitation. This deal could have been in the works for the last 3 days. We don't know. Maybe they just now got it finalized. But at the end of the day, you could be the Vikings and just getting rid of everybody, right? Or you could be the Titans and you're trying to do the best you can in a division that you see as winnable this year.
I don't know if it's winnable anymore, though.
I do.
I think what the Houston Texans have done is separating themselves. And the Jaguars had a pretty good free agency
but
start
the Titans
as well.
are one injury away
from
not being relevant.
I think the Titans are 4-13 next year. Maybe they just added a couple of wins there to go to 6-11.
Anthony Richardson still can't stay healthy.
We don't know that. Still can't.
We do know that.
How do we know that he still can't stay healthy?
How many games did he play in Florida? How many games did he miss in Indy? We don't know that he's going to be able to stay healthy.
And we don't know that he's not going to be able to stay healthy.
Jacksonville is a train wreck. We thought they were going to be gangbusters last year, and they were middle of the road. It's a winnable division is what I'm trying to say.
I'm with you. Well, the Texans is where it's we'll have to see how it plays out. We've gone 7 minutes overboard here, all because of Calvin Ridley. You guys are riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout, and we're going to be right back.
Get ready.
Let's play the game.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
I just don't think that anybody's going to succeed in that system.
It's a bad organization.
It's just a bad organization.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Onion pickles.
Live and local
Look, it's impressive.
on ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
And we are back. We'll double up on commercials here in just a few minutes. Don't worry about it, Rick. Whenever the next time that we go to break, when that thing's free, we'll go to a break and we'll double up on our breaks. We'll pay the bills twice in our next segment. So back to Calvin Ridley. No, I'm just messing around. Again, it really just kind of comes down to me for what pay on potential when potential has kind of been proven that it's there. I don't know if me personally, I don't know if it's still there for that amount of money.
Yeah.
For that amount of money. But since we're talking free agency here, what have you thought about your Bengals?
I like the Stone pickup from the Ravens. He's still young. I think he's still just 26 years old. Defensive back. He had 7 interceptions last year. I was shocked that the Ravens let him go. So that was surprising. It was time for Mixon to go. I think they like what they saw out of Chase Brown at the end of the year last year. They added Zach Moss, which I'm not a big fan of.
And for the price point, though, if you're going to sit there and sell me on Calvin Ridley, for the price point of Zach Moss.
I think Calvin Ridley's more proven than Zach Moss.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I'm just saying, how much did y'all pay for for Zach Moss? It was like for a year, essentially, right?
It was 2 years,
$8 million, right?
$8 million, something
Who
like
would
that.
you rather?
But for $2 million more, you could have kept Mixon.
And I'm right.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, okay,
So,
fair enough.
but we still don't know what they're getting from the Texans for Joe Mixon either yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that's been released. But so we'll see what that entails. But with the addition of Derrick Henry going to Baltimore, Pittsburgh and improving their defense, I think it's on the Bengals to make sure that they shore up DJ Reader on that interior defensive line. To make sure that he's still there to stop the run. Because if you're asking me, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, interior defensive lineman in the league. He's just, nobody talks about him because there's that monster behemoth out there in L.A. named Aaron Donald. So, but no, so I like what they've done so far. I would like to see them potentially maybe add some offensive linemen in the draft, go back into the secondary, shore that up, and see what they can get out of T. Higgins. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, if you trade him, it's going to have to be 2 1s because he's franchised.
It doesn't have to be. It's up to the team if they want to take less.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know the team could do
it's up
that.
to the
Okay.
team. The team can option to take less for it, but the team has the ability to say, if you want to trade for him, here's what we are legally obligated to ask for, basically.
Okay.
Right? So it's the same thing with Lamar last year. Right? It was like, okay, who's going to pay Lamar all that money and give up 2 first-rounders for him? It's the same thing with T. Higgins. So my hope is they can still get a deal done. I don't think that T. Higgins is completely out, even though he says he is.
What do you think T. Higgins would have got paid? Like if he was a free agent this year?
If I'm T. Higgins and I want to stay with Cincinnati and I still want to get paid.
No, I'm saying if he was a free agent and could go anywhere that he wanted to.
He would probably be at that 5-year, probably $100 million.
I was going to say $15 million a year.
Listen to me. 5 years, $100 million, or 4 year, 92. Give me T. Higgins all day. Like T. Higgins is worth that. That's $20 million a year. 4 at 92 is what?
Right,
20 plus something.
But when you're at 5 years, $100 million, right? Or you're looking more like $40 million guaranteed or $35 million guaranteed, because when you do the longer extension, then the team can't be on the hook for that much more money. So it's one or the other. It's usually never both.
Yeah.
So it's either we're going to give you less years but more guaranteed money, or we're going to give you more years but less money.
Well, I would much rather give them more years and make them feel better about that and less guaranteed and less guaranteed money.
I get it. But at the end of the day, I think the Titans improved, which is what you want, right?
Ooh, I can't.
I think they improved.
See, for me, you improve when you, like, adding Flash is nothing but improving for the sake of the fans, right? But you actually improve when you improve your lines. Defensively and offensively. And right now you got Jeffrey Simmons over there on the defensive front, but they let Danico Autry go, which I didn't expect him to stay around. And they haven't done much to shore up the offensive line. And if the offensive line doesn't get taken care of, Will Levis doesn't get taken care of, and we won't have the best availability for him, or the best potential for him. But again, enough about the Titans.
So basically, are you saying, Adam, that they have more wins now than what they would have had, say, before they did all this? I'm thinking
think so.
right about the same. I think they're just treading water.
No, I don't think so, because if you look at what their schedule is going to be this year, right? I mean, they finished last in the division, right? Colts finished ahead of them, didn't they?
They might have finished last in the division.
So they're going to be playing everybody.
Colts were vying for a playoff spot.
Right, so they're going to be playing the 4th best team in every division in football, plus whoever they have in the NFC. So there's a weaker schedule there. There's a better
That's
opportunity.
only one game. That last place thing is just one. It's just they'll be playing the last place of, I believe, the NFC South.
No, you play the last. You play
That's
the
just
last
one game.
No, it's not.
It is.
So if
it
you
is.
finish
It's
first,
just one
if
game.
you finish first in your division, you play the team that won their division the previous year.
No, that is just the one game. That was the 17th game that they added to the schedule. That's that game.
No, I'm talking about the entire schedule.
Right.
So if you finish 4th in your division, you play if you're in the AFC, you play the AFC opponents that finish 4th in their division.
Now we got to look up the Titans' schedule, because that is not how I'm almost, and I don't like to say I'm adamant.
It's part of the balance. right? It's part of the balance. It's how they try to get everybody to that 8-8, that 500 mark.
All right, so you might be right on this. Were the Chargers 4th place in the West?
Yes.
The Chargers were 4th place in the West. Were the Bills 4th place in the AFC East?
No.
Okay, all right. So then that nullifies that argument.
So who else do you play in the AFC East?
The AFC.
Play everybody in the AFC East?
No,
sure.
well, maybe so. Yeah, you got the Dolphins. You've got the Bills. Yeah, but the only division that you play all of from is the NFC, like on a consistent basis. Like we've got the Bengals. We've got the Commanders is part of NFC. You got the Lions. You've got the Bears. So that's
You're playing the North. NFC North.
Yeah, you're playing the NFC North.
But we also have the Commanders, and that is our 17th game of the schedule.
But who do you play in the? You play us in the
outside
AFC North.
of the AFC South, you've got the Patriots, you've got the Jets, you've got the Bengals, you've got the Dolphins, you've got the Bills, you've got the Chargers, and then the rest are AFC South teams and NFC.
Right, so you play the lowest team that you can possibly play next year from the other divisions.
I think that the only one that you play.
So I honestly, to get back to your original question,
sorry.
I feel like they can improve over last year. I think Levis now having a full year under his belt, going to have a new system, going to have a new ability to see what he's got, right? I mean, that's the reason you drafted him, first pick in the second round, I think it was, or second pick. So you've got DeAndre Hopkins there who's now, building a rapport with him. You bring in Calvin Ridley. You bring in Tony Pollard, so you're faster at running back. You've still got Tajay Spears who can be that battering ram. I like what they're doing. So I think they can improve over last year.
There we go. Well, now I have to find out the answer to this because my mind is going to be all over that. I've got it pulled up right here. Mm-hmm. So here's how the schedule is broken up for the 17 games. So you got your 6th game against divisional opponents, 2 games with each team, 1 at home, 1 away. 4 games against teams from 1 division within the conference, 2 games at home and 2 away. Rotates between the other 3 divisions in a team's conference each season. So that has nothing to do with where you place at. And then you've got 4 games against teams from 1 division in the other conference, 2 games at home, 2 games away. Rotate between the 4 divisions in the other conferences each season. 2 games against teams from the 2 remaining divisions in its own conference, 1 game at home and 1 game away. So 2 games. So, and then this is where matchups are based on division ranking from the previous season. So, all right. So then that would essentially that would make that say that you're right, but
not essentially. It does.
Well, no, but what I'm getting at is, I thought it was just the 17th game. So
no,
I thought it was just the 17th game that we were talking about. 1 game against non-conference opponent from a division that the team is not scheduled to play.
Yeah.
All right. I'm wrong. Fair enough. Moving on then.
Yeah.
We've got it figured out now.
Let's talk some baseball.
No, man. We're going to keep on with this football stuff. But is DJB opened up for you?
Yeah.
All right, then in 1 minute, we're going to take a break. What do you want to talk about in baseball?
Oh, man, I'm excited for the season. Garrett Cole being out maybe a couple months, but that's a blessing in disguise, honestly, for Yankees fans. Cause
you think that's a blessing?
No.
I'm ready to be wrong again. Let's go.
No, hear me out. Because the situation could have been worse. Right, he could be out for the entire season because what happens anytime a starting pitcher undergoes an MRI?
Yeah,
worst case scenario always plays out. But now you have 2 months without Garrett Cole, who is your ace. He was Cy Young last year. Now there's a hole to fill for that 2 months. Who's out there in free agency right now? You've got Blake Snell. You've got Jordan Montgomery. You've got Trevor Bauer, if they were so inclined. Right? There's arms out there that the Yankees could go and get to fill in for Garrett Cole. So this is, barring the injury to him not getting worse, the best case scenario for the Yankees because you get Garrett Cole back this season, potentially in June, and then maybe because of that you bring in somebody else that helps and bolsters that rotation.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and go to a break. We'll double up on the break, so it'll be 4 minutes before we get back. Another point about this schedule thing, that's only 3 games based on our matchup, though, so it ain't going to help them at all. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida. AG was 100% right. I was wrong.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida presents the madness of college basketball. 68 teams, 32 conference champions. But there can only be one. ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for the NCAA College Basketball Tournament.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. Partly sunny the rest of the day with a gentle breeze around 9 miles per hour out of the south-southeast and temps near 70. We will have slight fog and partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 58. And slightly foggy in the morning, but otherwise some clouds tomorrow and a high 74. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. We invite you to stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new 2024 Kia. You'll see why everyone is talking about Kia. The 2024 Kia will give you the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. The SUV family has movement that inspires. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. Fuel the thrill and command the road in a luxury sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia K5. Performance, power, and design built just for you. Discover the new Kia at Bill Bird Kia. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you just like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Bill Bird Kia.
The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
You both talking about allergies? We're talking about Michigan.
We're going
Ohio
in on
State.
Michigan, man. What's going on
What is
here?
wrong with you guys?
He went out there and warmed up on his own.
Oh my God.
In uniform.
Yeah, and Jimbo couldn't get him off the field. They had Andy Bertram. Andy, how you doing today?
I am boycotting this show today.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. Partly sunny the rest of the day with a gentle breeze around 9 miles per hour out of the south-southeast and temps near 70. We will have slight fog and partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 58. And slightly foggy in the morning, but otherwise some clouds tomorrow and a high 74. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Attention homeowners, are you dreaming of a backyard oasis? Look no further than S&R Fencing, your go-to destination for quality outdoor transformations. At S&R, they specialize in crafting custom fences, decks, retainer walls, and all exterior construction that not only enhances the beauty of your home, but also stands the test of time. Their experienced team takes pride in delivering top-notch craftsmanship with a personal touch. S&R Fencing, locally owned, licensed, and insured, and a member of the BBB.
When the sun sets on the Emerald Coast, the freaks come out and play.
Hi, I'm a recovering crackhead.
Hand me that shotgun.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Get on your knees!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
That's a good point. That is a good point. We're still over here chatting about the NFL schedule. Oh, that was good stuff, man. That was good stuff. Got me all heated up over Calvin Ridley, and then it just went all the way into the schedule. But we're going to change things over to Major League Baseball here, and we'll start it off with a trivia question. Which player holds the record for the most career strikeouts as a hitter? Which player holds the record for the most career strikeouts as a hitter? You want to take a swing at this one?
I got a couple choices from two different eras. I think it can be.
I won't tell you if you're right or not.
You want to give you both or just one?
Give me both.
I was going to say Babe Ruth and Ohtani.
Ooh, Babe Ruth and Ohtani. Ohtani?
As a hitter?
like the record for most career strikeouts?
Yeah, just because my rationale. Just,
I see where you're. Okay, no, see now I see where you're going with this though. You're talking about like like you're saying a pitcher who's thrown strikeouts, but he also hits. No, like which batter has struck out the most in his career?
Well, okay, you're also like, what's your like a batter? Ohtani was a batter.
No. This has nothing to do with pitchers. Like who struck out the most?
Okay, I got you then. Yeah, I don't know then. That was just what I was thinking when I read
I got you.
it,
No, I'm following you now because especially when you add in the word hitter because it just doesn't sound right there. Yeah, I'm right there with you. At first I'm like, how the heck does Ohtani strike out more than anyone? He just got going about 5 years ago now.
Well, the thing is here's my rationale on this whole question, right? I'm going to go with Pete Rose. Okay.
Oh.
I'm going to go with Pete Rose because he played more than 20 years.
Okay.
He was still relevant enough to accrue that many at bats to where the strikeout numbers could mount. Because if you're there a short span and you're striking out a lot, then you're not going to last long in the league. So it has to be somebody with longevity, I think, but is able to produce at a high enough level to stay afloat, if you will. Pete Rose is my guess just because of the number of at-bats. But if I'm going to go with just pure gut, I want to say somebody like a Manny Ramirez.
Oh, that's a big hacker. Yeah, that's a good
like
guess. That's a good guess. 850-215-6290. We're going to give you $25 to Rudy's and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock real quick. Only 4 on this day instances. Today on this day in 1894, J.L. Johnstone of England invents horse racing's starting gate in 19... Where would we be without that?
I think they would figure it out.
Yeah,
they would figure it out.
That's true. But
I mean, like they had bells and they had ropes and things like that. So, and they could train the horses to go on. I mean, you could get a little clicker and get a horse to train to go on the sound of a clicker. So.
Good point there. 1960, White Sox unveiled new road uniforms with players' names above the number. 2020, 12 hours after the PGA Tour canceled its flagship event, the Players' Championship, Augusta National announces the postponement of the Masters tournament to a date to be fixed because of COVID-19 pandemic, and that's when they played it in the fall. And it was weird because the grass just was not...
Magnolia's not blooming either.
Yeah, man, it was a totally different atmosphere. 2022, after a 40-day retirement, record-breaking quarterback Tom Brady announces that he will play at least one more season in the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kyle, you are on the line with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on?
What's going on, guys?
I figured it was Mr. Albritton. What you think your Gators got a good opportunity to win the SEC tournament?
In basketball,
yeah,
they got a shot, but I think probably about 2 wins.
All right, there you go. Though that gets them. That would get them into.
I'm hoping we can get up to about a 6 seed, but we'll see.
That would get you guys to the semifinals if you won 2 games, I believe, right?
Right.
Yeah,
because we play the winner of Georgia and Missouri.
Yep. Which player holds the record for the most career strikeouts as a batter?
That would be Mr. October, Reggie Jackson.
Yes, sir. Ding, 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 ding. And I believe in second place is Jim Tomei.
When I first heard the question, I thought it might be Adam Dunn, but...
I went there as well just because I'm a Reds fan, and I thought, you know what, I don't think he played a long enough career to have that mark.
Right.
Yeah, great stuff, man. Well, we will see you soon. You know where to come. Just hang on the line real quick, and K-Man Rick will grab some information from you, all right?
I got you.
All right, Kyle Albritton being the big winner today. Reggie Jackson, I saw this question on Twitter, and there's also been some fun things trending on Twitter today about some games that we used to play back in the day. I Googled, about
not the floor is lava. Right?
Yeah, it's not the floor is lava. I Googled about, the FCC, what you can get away with, what you can't, and I just decided, maybe not go that direction. But yes, New York Yankees, Garrett Cole shut down, and he's going to be visiting Dr. Neil Elatrache. I don't know. We'll call him Dr. Neil for now. In Los Angeles for further testing on his right elbow. That is according to 2 sources. So he's already got one opinion down there in Florida, and he'll have another one over there in L.A. But you think this is a good thing for the Yankees because now it opens up their capabilities. He's going to be starting out the year on the injured list.
Obviously, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Sorry to my buddy Fred, who's a big Yankees fan. He's watching on YouTube, and he's like, obviously, I'd rather him not be hurt at all. It's like, obviously, right? Like, but the thing is what I was trying to explain is, if you're going to have your ace go down in a rotation that is already suspect because of injuries in prior years, right? You're going to have your ace go down. If he goes down for 1 month, your team feels no pressure to throw, a contract offer at one of these remaining free agents. He's out potentially 2 months, but you still get him back for the majority of the season. There's still a chance that organization could look at somebody that's in free agency and say, we need to go ahead and get him because he's going to be out 2 months. And then that's just maybe when he starts back baseball activity. So maybe it's longer than that.
Right.
So, if it's 1 month that he's out, they don't balk at it. If it's 2 months that he's out, they maybe look at somebody bringing in another one of these arms, which, like I said before we went to break, could bolster that rotation and help their chances this year. But if he's out for the year, obviously it's a bad thing. He's a Cy Young Award winner. He's a top 3 pitcher in baseball. But it could be a blessing in disguise. I mean, we've seen it before where, big names in all sports have gone out with, an injury for a certain amount of time, and then they come back and they're better than ever, and they lead their team on to, a championship. I mean, or get close enough anyway. So I don't know. It's a tough situation as a because the Yankees suffered a lot of injuries last year.
Yeah,
especially in their pitching rotation. Mm-hmm. So losing their ace obviously hurts, but I think it could end up being a good thing.
Do you think that's what Scott Boris's angle he was trying to do?
100%.
Holding out with these guys so that when somebody does go down, it just raises the price now because now you're desperate and now you'll overpay.
100%, right? I mean, he's not a dummy. We all don't like him, right? Nobody. I don't think any baseball fan.
The Braves and Dodgers essentially are like, yeah, we're not going to be dealing with you,
right? And so this is exactly why he holds his guys out as long as he possibly can for instances like this. So Caveman's exactly right. I mean, what does this do for Blake Snell, who, I don't know, was the other Cy Young Award winner last year? Right. Jordan Montgomery, who had the best, postseason pitching performances we've seen in a long time last year on his way to win a World Series. And then you've got a guy like Trevor Bauer, who, honestly, you get for pennies on the dollar. And he's a former Cy Young Award winner.
He might need to stay away from New York, though. Trevor Bauer might get in trouble over there.
I don't know, man. It's not L.A. It's not the West Coast, right?
No, it's a big town. I'm just kind of being facetious and being a
No, and I get it. But the thing is you could take a flyer on somebody like a Trevor Bauer, and if it doesn't work out, you're probably not going to be out a whole lot of money. You're going to have a black eye because you signed the guy in some people's minds. But I mean, again, though, it allows the organization to think about potentially making a move.
You're going to have a black eye for, a news cycle, and then if you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or if he has a whole bunch of good starts down the road. Now, Fred, you mentioned, is that who you're doing the podcast with?
Yeah.
Very fun conversation listening to a snippet that you guys had yesterday of the Rangers and the Diamondbacks buying championships versus kind of homegrown championships. Mm-hmm. So shout out to you, Fred and AG. You can plug the podcast if you'd like to.
Yeah, so it's Big Fred's Breaks on Whatnot. Super cool dude. He's out of New Jersey. Really laid back, kind of chill kind of dude. Very, very knowledgeable. He's actually a school teacher.
Oh, sweet.
By day.
That's actually really awesome that you're helping our youth progress through life.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, he's awesome. So really cool dude, but he's asked me to join his podcast on a bi-weekly kind of basis.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a lot of fun, very informative. And it's not just sports cars, but it's sports in general, baseball particularly. So,
right.
But it's a lot of fun.
That's great stuff. It's such a good conversation because Padres, Yankees are teams who normally tend to, or not, the Padres are normally a team who did that. They tried it. And were you surprised that the Padres, it was just 1 year of trying that and then they backed right off?
Well, I mean, they had to go out and get loans to pay off the rest of the players that they bought, right?
What's the name of their park? No, that's the Marlins, who's Lone Depot Park, right?
Yeah, no, I think they're Petco still, maybe.
Yeah, Petco.
But, with the Padres, though, and we talked about this on the podcast as well, I felt like there were too many cooks in the kitchen with that. I mean, you had Blake Snell, who there's a lot of people out there that don't like Blake Snell. Just because of his personality. There's people that don't like Tatis because of his personality. Machado's kind of crass.
Yeah.
And then there's Soto, right? Which
I don't think Soto's necessarily that type of player as far as thinking a lot of himself.
Guilt by association.
Yeah. Right. And that's kind of what we talked about last week was I don't necessarily think Soto is a villain per se.
Right.
But there's that perception because he's a mercenary now, right? He's the guy that is going to be, like Fred said, he's going to be a guy that's going to be on potentially 4 teams in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? He's just out there for the highest bidder, and he's going to try to be an assassin and chase money, right? I would hope he would chase rings, but he's going to chase money. And with the Padres, though, I will say this. What the Padres have gotten back in return from the Yankees for Soto was a nice haul, but what they sent to Washington
didn't work out for Washington.
No, it's going to.
Okay,
it's going to pay huge dividends because you're looking at James Wood, right?
Yeah, we talked about this
Robert
last
Hassel,
week. Yeah,
that's going to be over there. So I mean, the haul that they got back that Washington got back for Juan Soto to get him over to San Diego is immense.
Do you think that those moves kind of take place this year, like maybe grab the spotlight this year, or is that something that takes
With
another?
The Nats?
Yeah, for the Nationals.
No, the Nats are still a couple years away, but they've got some pieces, right? So
Lane Thomas is going to be one of the more
We talked about Lane Thomas. We talked about Stone Garrett last week as well.
That was one of your players to watch for the National League East, right?
That wasn't mine.
Oh, that was Sam's?
That was Sam's.
Nice,
right?
yeah.
But, mine was kind of that Lane Thomas kick. But the Nats, they're really, really young pitching. They've got a lot of stuff to do. They've got to work on from that regard. But young James Wood, Robert Hassel, Brady House, Lane Thomas, Stone Garrett. So they've got some stuff coming down the pipe.
Why even take breaks today, Caveman? We should have just took them out and said, you know what, we're going from 4 until 5:30.
This one though,
yeah, we got to. All right, top of the hour coming up. We'll be right back with hour number 2 and our final segment of the afternoon.
Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida just got unsportsmanlike.
We've been debating the best value when you're going out to eat a meal. And we all said hibachi is the best value.
Yeah, I could eat it 7 nights a week.
Oh.
That's how much I love that kind of food. I just love that kind of food.
And it's great value,
Absolutely.
Right?
Love it.
You're catching shrimp.
I'm about 82.7% on catching that shrimp lifetime.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle. Woo! Weekdays 5 to 7 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Wednesday. For tonight, light fog and partly cloudy skies and a low of 59 with a very light wind. Tomorrow morning, slight fog and some clouds with temps around 70. In the afternoon and evening, partly cloudy with a gentle breeze and a temperature near 73. Moving into Friday, about the same with a high of 75 and some sun. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231 in Youngstown.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
From the pros to the future pros, we're your home team station for home team sports. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. Tonight we've got some ACC basketball going on for you. I should probably look up those scores or look up the games that are going to be going on tonight because whenever I was putting the schedule together at that point in time, it was just questionable. So it looks like we're going to be having North Carolina State and Syracuse. Following that will be Boston College and Clemson. So good games tonight. North Carolina State, not so good in the ACC this year, 9-11, 18-14 overall. Syracuse 20-11, 11-9 in the ACC. Boston College 8-12 in the conference. Clemson 11-9 in the conference. They are 21-10 overall, and that second game will tip tonight at 8:30, and then we'll have the next round, the quarterfinals tomorrow night, semifinals Friday evening, and then Saturday we'll have the championship. We'll have SEC semifinal games on Saturday morning. Coverage starts at 11:45, tip-off at 12 p.m., and then we'll have the SEC Championship 12 o'clock on Sunday, and then wrapping that up with Selection Sunday at 5 p.m., and then your brackets will be ready, so you can go over to ESPNPC.com. You can go ahead and get in the group now, or you can wait till the 17th, but get in the group now and just go ahead and save yourself that bit of time, and then the bracket will be ready. I think we've got 17 people now, but it normally starts ramping up pretty heavily on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we'll give you all the way up until the first tip. Once the ball tips, or once the first game tips, then no longer able to enter in at that point in time, but all of the March Madness games will be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Some big news, Kenny Payne. Well, big news for Louisville fans especially.
It's big news in the college basketball landscape.
Yeah, because it's a big basketball school. Exactly. So Louisville getting rid of Kenny Payne, who was like 5-35 in the ACC over the last 2 years.
12 wins in 2 years.
12 wins in 2 years, which is it's the reason why when AG came in today and I was like, hey, you want to, talk. Normally AG is one of the first ones of like, hey, what, are we talking college basketball today? You want to get this in, and so when he was coming in today, I was like, all right, we're going to talk about the conference tournaments. He was like, let's talk baseball, man. I'm like, how much of this has to do with Louisville being so abysmal over the last 2 years? So your thoughts on Kenny Payne? You can go a little bit deeper now.
Okay, so everyone at Louisville wanted Kenny Payne to succeed, right? He was a freshman on the 1986 national championship team, along with Purvis Ellison. Played in the pros, got drafted out of Louisville, had a decent pro career, played for the Sixers. Everybody wanted him to succeed. He came from Kentucky as an assistant coach under John Calipari. No one went into this going, man, I just hope he blows this.
Right.
Okay, that's not good for anybody. It's not good for his legacy. It's not good for his relationship with the city and the university. And it's just not good for Louisville basketball if he fails. I mean, no one wanted him to fail. And that's where there's this huge disconnect with the fan base. He's ridden this horse since day one, and now he's riding it out of town, where he never wanted to take accountability or responsibility, right? He kept saying that, well, the first year didn't count. Okay, well, first year didn't count. What about this year when you got 7 wins or 8 wins? Like, when do we start counting? And that's where we could never get to. And then last night, after their loss to NC State in the ACC tournament, he says that Louisville basically is the Titanic, and he was asking people to stay on the Titanic with him. It's like, okay, well, we all know what happened with the Titanic. We've all seen the movie, right?
Well, who is it, Jack and Rose?
Right.
I haven't seen the movie. I made that a moratorium years ago when it came out. I still have not watched that movie. But congratulations to me.
Round of applause for you.
You're the one. But you still know the story of the Titanic, right?
Yeah,
it is at the bottom. And if you're not, then there was a submarine a couple years ago. We all know what happened with that.
It was like a year, not even a year, man.
So anyway, he's asking people to stay on the Titanic with him. And it's like, come on, man, let's be realistic here, right? And it got to a point to where, you have a fan such as myself, and I'm not alone in this sentiment, where growing up in that region, right? Not just the city of Louisville, but the entire Commonwealth, including Indiana, basketball was what you did from the time you woke up to the time you went to bed. You either thought about it, you played it, you were watching it. And so for us as Louisville fans, having to sit through that kind of torture, it absolutely deflated the entire city. Because I can tell you this, if you were to go around the arena after a win during Pitino's reign, the city was abuzz. Everybody was glowing. Everybody was happy. Now it's just an absolute train wreck. And he's gone now. Now we can focus on the future, right? Which Chris Beard, which was on the short list.
Yeah.
He is now re-upped with Ole Miss, so he just signed a contract extension, so I think he's probably out. But my eyes turn to Scott Drew.
Is he still a Baylor?
Mm-hmm.
And
he's got a national championship under his belt. Mm-hmm. He's putting players in the league. Getting out of Baylor and going to a place like Louisville, that's a Hall of Fame maker right there. You know what I mean? So I think that would be a good move for him in his career. It's the next logical step.
What about a guy like Nate Oates?
Nate Oates, I like, right? I know I gave him a lot of grief with the whole culture and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Nate Oates, I like. It's a fun brand of basketball, right? It's up and down. It's shooting the three. It's having a lot of fun. It's exciting. I do like Nate Oates as an option. I just don't know if Alabama is going to let him go.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point because, in my opinion, it would be a jump going from Alabama to Louisville. Like, that's a step in the right direction. And then you get, when a program is down like this, you get free reign. It's the clay is all the way melted, and you kind of get to mold it into what it is that you want.
Well, and this is the crux of the whole Kenny Payne argument, though, right? Is he says it's going to take 3 to 4 years to build back a program. That's not true in today's culture, right? I mean, in today's game, you've got the transfer portal where you can immediately go and get guys that aren't just Band-Aids, right? Because it used to be whenever you would take over.
They are kind of a 1-year Band-Aid. Yeah.
But so it used to be before the transfer portal and NIL and all this other stuff, you take over a big-time program, or any program for that matter, you're going to the JUCO ranks first, right? You're filling in holes, you're plugging gaps, and putting Band-Aids on until you can get your guys in there that they're going to work your system. Now you can sit there and you can look at a plethora of talent that's out there for you to go and just cherry pick and find proven talent at the D1 level, where you can go and build your team around what you're trying to do. And that's where us as Louisville fans looked at Kenny Payne and said, well, why isn't this happening? Not only are you not getting these guys in the transfer portal, but now you're not even recruiting them at the high school level. And that's where somebody, I think, like a Nate Oates, like a Scott Drew, that has that ability to reach these kids and get them on campus and keep them on campus, I think that's where Louisville needs to be kind of directing their search.
Well, what about a guy like Rick Pitino? Do you think
Randy asked me that when I came in, right? I would love to have Rick Pitino back. You know, Rick.
You think he would?
No. No, I don't. That ship has sailed, right? And he's back in New York, I think.
Talk about Titanics. I don't know.
Well, but the thing about Pitino is the people that wanted him gone are now gone, right? It's a new president. It's an all new board. It's a new athletic director. So. I would take a Rick Pitino back, but I don't think that he would want to come back. And they never should have gotten rid of him in the first place.
There you go. Well, we can hop back into some NFL free agency. We were asking this question, kind of roundtabling it yesterday, but what do you think, or did I already ask you the best free agent acquisition overall? Like, who's made the best signing?
In the NFL?
Yeah, NFL free agency.
Man, honestly, dude, and I hate saying this, but and I'm sorry, but it's the Ravens. Derrick Henry.
Don't be sorry. I'm right there with you.
I think it is a perfect fit for what they're trying to do. They're going to get Keaton Mitchell back, who had that freak injury at the end of last year. He was a lightning bolt.
Yes.
And then now they've got a guy that is Gus Edwards, but with talent, right? Because Gus Edwards, for
all intents and purposes,
he's great at what he does, but he is that I'm going to get 2 yards and fall forward. Right? Derrick Henry is, I'm going to hit your cornerback 10 yards down the field, and I'm going to keep going, right?
Yeah.
And he's built so well. He's just a freak of nature that I don't believe his age is going to be as big a factor as it will for most 30-year-old running backs.
Right.
So, and the deal that they got him on, I was like, goodness gracious, there wasn't a team out there offering more money than that. And I think there probably was, but he saw an opportunity to go to a place where not only could he be the guy in the backfield, but he's got an opportunity to not just play for a Super Bowl, but win a Super Bowl.
I think that was the biggest thing for Derrick Henry was winning. I think that he saw the writing on the wall with the Tennessee Titans. So maybe the Titans even offered him, hey, look, the same deal as what the Ravens did. But it's also, well, if I can get $8 million with the Ravens, I would love to finish my career here in Tennessee, but I don't see you guys really trying to push forward to win something. And the all bet... The Ravens are all in right now. Mm-hmm. The Ravens are in a position where they, I mean, look at where they were last year. They have a guy like Derrick Henry last year. They're probably not even throwing the ball to Zay Flowers where they're at on the field. They're probably running it.
100%. Well, and they're probably not in that position where they have to.
Yeah.
Right. So here's what I'm going to get you for Christmas, though, right? Because now you've lost another jersey with the Titans.
Dude, I have no jerseys outside of Ronald Acuna Jr., who's current. Oh, I take that back. I got a Klay Thompson jersey that I was Klay Thompson for Halloween 30 years ago. I'm being facetious, but yeah.
But I think we're all going to pitch in and we're going to get you an authentic Titans jersey, but we just need a number because we're going to put Hayes on the back.
It's 11.
That's it, yeah.
11, okay. So we're going to get 11. We're going to get Hayes. That way you always have a relevant Titans jersey.
Don't go all the way out and get a real authentic. Order it from China.
Okay.
So it's $40. But yeah, that's what I've told myself too in the future is if I'm getting jerseys from now on, I don't care if they just got a lifetime contract. Like it says for the rest of your life, you're an Atlanta Braves. I don't care. I'm done buying players' jerseys because as soon as I get the jersey, I remember a couple years ago, Dalton got me an A.J. Brown jersey right, in our fantasy league. He got me an A.J. Brown jersey for my birthday. By the time that football season came around, A.J. Brown wasn't even a daggone Tennessee Titan no more. The next year, my buddy got me a Julio Jones jersey, so that was cool for the season, you know what I mean? But it's also one of those things, with Derrick Henry, I'll always wear that jersey. You know, him playing at Bama, then being how long was he with the Titans? 6 years, 7 years?
I was going to say 7.
Both the wide receivers you mentioned, Eagles.
Yeah.
Ended up. And speaking of that, 15 minutes after we got out here yesterday, what did the Eagles do? Signed CJ back, man, after being gone for a year.
That's a really
huge,
good sign.
And that'll definitely help out that secondary again.
My buddy Mikey was huge. My buddy Mikey's tuning in on YouTube right now. He says he only buys retired jerseys.
Yeah. Oh, now that is something I can get behind. One jersey that I really want. I do got a Reggie Miller jersey, so that one will never change. But I want to get me one of those old school Magic jerseys and get a Shaq jersey. If you'd like to see Shaq, he's over there at Harpoon Harry's right now. So
is he really?
Yeah, he is. He's going to be DJing.
Oh, I remember
over there.
them saying something about it a few months back, someplace I don't know where, but I remember him coming into town.
I'm sure he appreciated that shout out. By the way, Dave.
I mean, why not though? Right? He's DJing.
That's
he's
the reason
DJing.
why.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's DJing. So and honestly, you know how I remembered it today? Y'all remember Jeremy from Slim Chickens?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's working over there or whatever and posted that picture.
Okay.
As far as jerseys go, though, I just want people I like, man. For whatever reason, a player that just stands out to me that I just gravitate towards.
Yeah.
I mean, whether or not they're going to be there or not, it means something to me.
There you go.
You know, that's what matters.
Because what was the Flyers jersey? The Konechny?
Yeah, Travis Konechny. Yeah, I usually wear 17. That's usually the guys that I get, that I have, jerseys of.
Yeah.
But I like Travis Konechny, man. He's a yapper. He likes to run his mouth out there on the ice, but he can back it up too.
There you go.
And he's he's a flyer, man, through and through.
Reminds me of that sausage for some reason.
Konechka.
Yeah,
Konechka sausage. Yeah, another free agent signing that I like. That I don't think most people do is Kirk Cousins to Atlanta.
I don't think that they're not Super Bowl contenders with that.
It helps.
Do you think they are? Hold on now. Go ahead.
Again, I know Rick likes to say he's got more ties than playoff wins.
He does.
Okay. However, if you look at what that defense did last year, but they were on the field a majority of the games last year because their quarterback play was awful. You put somebody like Kirk Cousins there with a Kyle Pitts who's been underutilized. They're now under a new offensive system. You got Bijan Robinson there. They just signed Darnell Mooney as their 3, which, again, he also had Justin Fields and Bagent throwing to him, right? He could be a really, really potentially sneaky pickup.
Okay.
And then I'm drawing a blank on the number 1 wide receiver in Atlanta.
Drake London?
Drake London, thank you. I know I was like USC.
Yeah.
But, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Bijan Robinson there. I like the Tyler Algier kid as well. Yeah. So I like what they're building in Atlanta. And if Old School is listening, if you hop back on that train, I'm going to call you out. But I like what they're doing there. I'm not saying that they're going to win the NFC, but could they win the NFC South? I think they can make some noise. That defense is legit. They need some help on the defensive line, but I think Kirk Cousins is the guy that could get them over the hump. Now, will he? We'll see. But I like the fact that they went and got a veteran, and they're not sitting back and waiting on that 9th pick to try to get somebody else like a J.J. McCarthy and try to throw him to the Wolves to see if he's any better than Desmond Ridder.
That's what I said yesterday, though. They need a veteran. They have too much youth on the rest of the offensive side of the ball. They need a guy that's been there before that can kind of like coach them up a little bit, show them the way. And so, yeah, it's probably a good choice that they did get a Kirk Cousins, but I'm just seeing it's the same kind of weapons he had, in Minnesota. The only difference is, yes, it's a better defense. I will say that because of them having a worse record, they're not going to have as many primetime games probably. And like I said yesterday, that's probably going to help out Kirk Cousins because we know he doesn't do well in primetime games. So saying that might be the one thing that might help him get a couple extra wins, and that might be the difference.
And again, you go back to winnable divisions, and it is one of those winnable divisions. I think the same, and it's the same sentiment that I had from last year, because it was starting to be the AFC East, right? When Aaron Rodgers went over there, and you had Tua.
Tua, Josh Allen, and Mac Jones.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, well, the AFC East looks like it's going to be the toughest division, but I'm pretty sure I was saying before Aaron Rodgers got injured is watch out for the AFC North, and I think that it's the same this year. Like the AFC North, I don't know how you can, all 4 teams, and I would love to see that. As Tyler Bishop said yesterday, that would be awesome to see.
How about this? The one question mark is the one constant that's always been, and that's the Steelers.
Yeah.
They're the biggest question mark in the division.
Cleveland is for me. Pittsburgh is going to be fine. Mike Tomlin always finds a way to win.
Are you kidding me?
Think on a long enough
he's the backup to Deshaun Watson, right? Like that's the issues. Like the defense for Cleveland was phenomenal last year. It was arguably the best defensive team in the league, but offensively, they had to go to Joe Flacco, and they still have Deshaun Watson on that ridiculously stupid contract. So we don't know what that's going to be. They do get Nick Chubb back after a year. They just went and got Jerry Jeudy, right? So now you've got Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper. They still got David Njoku.
Calvin Ridley too.
They've still got David Njoku. So, they've done some things this offseason, and they're going to get pieces back. But it all hinges on that ginormous contract of Deshaun Watson. And if he's able to get back to what he was his last year in Houston, then they can be a very, very scary team. But I still think they're the biggest question mark.
They still got a sick defense.
They do, and that's what I said earlier. But Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh is weird to me. That's such a weird dichotomy between Mike Tomlin, just the hard ass, and Russell Wilson, just the laissez-faire kind of guy. And
I think Russell Wilson kind of needed something like that.
He may, but is he receptive to it? Right,
that's going to be the big question mark.
Were his numbers good last year in Denver? Yes, they were good. They weren't phenomenal. They weren't all out of this world, but they were good numbers in Denver. But his
good enough to not be benched for the final 2 games.
But his right, well, that's a contract issue.
No, 100%.
But the thing is if he is able to put up those kinds of similar kinds of numbers in Pittsburgh, then Pittsburgh is going to be really, really scary.
He's going to have a better
even without Deontay Johnson, because I think what you see there is you see Najee Harris take a step up, then you see
Jaylen Warren continue.
You see George Pickens take a step up.
Now, is Pickens going to be able to get his attitude right?
And that's the thing, right?
That's a Tomlin issue.
And what has Tomlin always done, though? You act out too much, you're gone.
You're gone.
He's had issues with wide receivers over there, too, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but he gets rid of them, though. Whenever they start acting up, it's like, all right, well, if you want to call your own shots, go find somewhere to call them.
But that's going to be interesting because we know Tomlin's going to win.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a losing season his entire tenure.
Mm-hmm. And what was
Maybe this is the year, though.
Yeah, but everybody was saying that, like, everyone was saying that, not even before last year. It was week 14 and 15, like, is it the Steelers' way is over, Tomlin needs to get out of there, and then all of a sudden finds his way to not just 9-8 above the threshold or whatever. They finished at 10-7. So I really like, me personally, I really like the Russell Wilson signing. And for 2-3 years now, I've been saying, like, Russell Wilson is washed up. But why have I been saying that? Not that he's washed up. It's that everyone sits there with that stupid saying of, let Russ cook, let Russ cook. No, when Russ was cooking, it's because he had a good run game, and it's because he had a great defense. Well, what do the Steelers always tend to have is a really good defense, a great defense, and they've got two running backs over there that can do some damage, and Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are great complementary backs to each other.
And they just picked up Patrick Queen from the Ravens.
Yeah.
So
just let Russ wait on the table.
Yeah.
The table.
My buddy Mikey says the Rams rebuilt the O-line. Going to be a good season for them.
For the Rams?
Yeah, the Rams are, again, Stafford, his age and his health, if he stays the way he is. Kupp stays healthy all season. You've got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp out there. Kyron Williams had a resurgent year last year. So Aaron Donald on the defensive side. Yeah, I mean, they've got some pieces there. So NFC West is tough. I think people are sleeping on Kyler Murray. I don't know if you watched enough of him last year. At the end of the year, he looked better than what he did before the injury. To me.
I think he was.
I don't think his
But do we believe in the team, though?
And that's the thing, right? They're rebuilding. They've got to rebuild it. And I like what they're doing. I'd like to see them go and get a number one wide receiver. I think a T. Higgins out there would be really, really good for them. So maybe that's the trade partner for the Bengals there.
That one makes that. I haven't even heard that yet. Did you hear that from somewhere else? Because I haven't heard that, but that is that's a really good fit to an extent, like, because it gives Kyler that number one, but it gives T. Higgins, if that's what T. Higgins is wanting, is to be that number one guy, then he automatically goes to Arizona and becomes the number one guy. Because I don't see what in the world, why does any wide receiver want to leave Cincinnati? Like Joe Bingle Joe Bingle is slinging the rock to you. Why do you want to leave that?
They want to be the number one guy, and they're not the number one guy. That's it.
That's what I'm saying. It would come down there to the ego factor.
Where's Arizona drafting this year?
I want to say they're somewhere in the top 10, unless
they traded it away prior. Yeah, I don't know.
I said yesterday Houston might be a good spot for him to land.
But in Houston, he doesn't get the opportunity to be that guy, though, because you've got a lot of 1Bs there and 2As there with Tank Dell, if he's able to come back healthy. Nico Collins.
It's going to be tough to double team everybody. You can't.
Yeah, but it's a similar situation to what he had in Cincinnati, right? I mean, we saw what he was able to do when it was just him, when Chase was out this year for 4 games. But I think Arizona... 27, so they did trade away.
Yeah.
So I think that's a comparable pick there for the Bengals. Go back into the first round at 27. We take your first rounder. You take T. Higgins. Here's your contract.
I would give away the 27th pick for T. Higgins,
and the Bengals would take it.
Yeah, because
they want more than that.
Well, obviously, but I'm just saying in terms of, they would probably want a 1 this year and then maybe a 1 next year. But
I don't know if
I was thinking like a 1 and a 3 or something.
But it's that 2. It's that 2 first round pick.
Yeah. That's just kind of the age we live in.
But if you're the Cardinals, you get T. Higgins for 5 years.
Does T. Higgins, how many wins do you think T. Higgins adds to the Cardinals?
At least 4, because that's what he brought to Cincinnati just last year with Chase being out.
I was thinking somewhere around 2,
I was
3.
saying 1.5 maybe or something.
But is the offensive line going to be able to protect Kyler Murray? That's what it comes down to.
When he was playing better, like they didn't have like the expectations. They were already out of the mix for the playoffs and everything, you know? It was just kind of like just going out there, almost like garbage time football, you know? I want to see him do it when it matters.
Yeah, no, I get it. And his only postseason performance was not very good.
Yeah.
But I like that fit for T. Higgins. I like that fit for the Bengals.
Any new Call of Duty games coming out this fall?
I don't know.
More than likely.
Probably. They do one every 6 months now, right? But no, the Rams, like Mike, you were saying, the Rams, I think could be a scary team because they were one of those teams when they got in the postseason last year. People didn't really want to play them,
right?
And that Bucs game that they had was really, really tight. So, should be interesting. I think there's still a lot of chips that are going to fall before the draft.
I think having such a wild free agency as we've had makes the draft even that much more interesting.
Doesn't it make more sense? Or what do you guys think, real quick? I think it makes more sense to have the draft first and then do free agency because usually you build your team with the draft and you develop. You use free agency just to fill your holes, right? So now you're filling holes before you even draft. And to me, that's kind of counterintuitive. I would rather draft first and then do the free agency.
I think that there's a point there, but also, like I was just saying before you said that, is having all of this movement makes the draft even more interesting because now teams have they filled in some holes, and now you use the collegiate players, the incoming players on what other holes you can fill, and then there's still going to be a lot of movement with trades and whatnot. What's your thoughts on that, AG? Well, we got a minute left.
I understand what he's saying, but I think having it the way it is right now is the right way to go, in my opinion, because most of the time you're not starting these college players right away unless they're just stellar. So the draft is that supplemental, like, backup kind of role. So
that is going to do it for us today. Coach James House Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. The Inside Drive is on at 11 a.m. with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley. We're going to be back tomorrow at 4. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I, and enjoy the next basketball games from the ACC tournament.
ESPN Northwest Florida has your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Geico 500. Starting Monday, March 25th, join Coach Hale mornings at 7:15 and 8:15 to enter the Race to Talladega. Then at 12:15 and 5:15, listen for your name call.